I got to assume that was the Chargers game, the awesome throw that he made in that LA game when he looked like 2024 Jayden Daniels, just turning the clocks back. On Fox, that was your A crew. I mean, you got Tom Brady chuckling like, this dude's good. That's a good place to be. That might have been when Tom got smitten and his eyes lit up that he wanted him in the flag football thing.
Now I'm going to recruit him for it, yeah.
Welcoming you back on the fan. He wanted to, let's make sure that we get him. If he could do that, I want him on my flag football operation. So ESPN did an exercise. It was Mike Clay who projected passing leaders this year in the NFL. And oddly, I don't know if maybe just for over-unders, this is how you have to do it, the numbers are actually super low. Because there was a time when a lot of guys threw for 4,000 yards. Weirdly, that's not really the case anymore. I think you've got more running backs that are dual threats. So instead of just rushing for, 100 yards and throwing for 4,300, you get a lot of guys that throw for, 34, 3,500 and run for 6, 700, something like that. But Matt Stafford at 4,700 high water mark last year. Jared Goff, who wouldn't run if you told him there was a fire next to him, 4,500 yards. Dak Prescott, same. Drake May, 4,394. And Sam Darnold and Trevor Lawrence both narrowly over 4,000, not at 4,100. But that was the list last year. Stafford, Goff, Prescott, 1, 2, 3. May, Darnold, Lawrence, 4, 5, 6 in terms of passing yards, all over 4,000. So this exercise for ESPN was a projection of who's going to lead the NFL in passing yards this coming year.
So to your point, real quick, just pick 10 years ago, nice round number. There were 13 4,000-yard passers. There were 3 other guys that missed a game but were in the 3,900 range. Last year, there were 6.
So there could have been 15, 16. Instead, there were 6 10 years later. I think that works with what we're seeing, which is teams are implementing safety, playing over the top, not giving up the home run
You
ball.
ain't beating us deep.
Making you either take the 4-5 at a time into short passing game, check down game, or run the football, which we've seen the last couple of years come back.
Better starting field position with the kickoffs. You add all that up, it's these little 5 yards, 10 yards, 7 yards, whatever. That chips away at the yardage totals.
That's a really smart point, too. When you're 1st and 10 from your own 21 on average, that's very, very different than 1st and 10 from your own 32. You know what I mean? That just, every drive is 11 yards fewer, and there's not as many yards to be had, obviously. So those are some of the reasons for that, for sure. But I find it interesting that Mike Clay of ESPN, who did this ranking of the top 10 passing yards leaders in the NFL, and Jayden Daniels shows up on this, which I like, has the yards pretty low. He's got a total of 5 guys over 4,000, fewer than last year. He's got nobody over 4,284, which is Brock Purdy at number 1. So I guess he's assuming health. Purdy is a guy who rarely stays healthy completely. But I found this list fascinating. First things first, because we're in D.C., he's got Jayden Daniels 8th in the NFL in passing yards at 39.17. I would love that, by the way. If Jayden Daniels finishes just shy of 4,000, over 3,900 passing yards, it means he stayed healthy. It means he played in, 15 or 16 games. And you can account for another probably somewhere between 600 and 900 rushing yards. Let's just say 750, 800 rushing yards. You're getting 4,500 plus, upwards of 4,700 yards from Jayden Daniels. If he throws for almost 4,000, David Blau was the real deal, and this offense cooked.
It would have put him, as I think you just alluded to, 8th or 9th last year, and prognosticating going forward.
Is 8th this year.
Yeah, so and that would kind of fit. It would also sort of fit the story that this team doesn't have to score 38 to win, right? It would fit this is all, less is asked. Don't be Superman. We don't need you to, have 500 yards of total offense for us to have a chance like we're playing in the Big 12. This is more of a team football game, and you're managing some of that.
Yeah, but he'd be 8th in the NFL in passing yards. So I don't know how much of it. My takeaway is that you don't have to do a lot throwing the football. 7 guys will have thrown the ball for more yards than him at that point. I think it's just a sign of the times, kind of. Like, if you would have told me, I'm trying to think of when I would go back to, the Jay Gruden offense with Cousins and Deshaun Jackson and Pierre Garçon and Santana Moss, like all those guys.
2016.
Vernon Davis and maybe Jordan Reed even before that. He threw for 4,900 yards one year. Almost 5,000 passing yards. If you would have said going into that year, the following season, Cousins will throw for 3,900, I'd be like, oh, they're running the ball a lot. They're taking a bunch off his plate. That would be 300 more yards than Jayden threw for in the electric 2024 season. Be a pretty big leap. They got him within 15 yards of what they're pegging Matt Stafford for, or saying, Patrick Mahomes is going to get 3,800, 10th in the NFL. Now, he may or may not play week 1.
Right.
So maybe that's part of it. But they've got him right there with Joe Burrow and Jared Goff, who's going to be slinging it around indoors for the Detroit Lions. But for me, I guess my bigger thing is, if that happens, my takeaway, Danny, is he's healthy, so everything's okay. But I'm assuming that they're baking health in. This is not
right?
Projection that he's going to stay healthy. You're just assuming everyone plays all season. What does that look like? But I would take the under on 39-17. There's nothing really I've seen either by way of what they've added. To your point, would you make a lot at the receiver position or just generally Jayden's style of play where he's going to be a dual threat, he's going to make plays with his legs, he's going to be out of the pocket a bunch? I don't know if he just wants to stand there and wing it around for 4,200, 4,300. I'd like nothing more than that. But I think he's probably going to be more in the 35 to 37 range, and then you're adding another 700, 800 as a rusher.
Yeah, I would take under. I wonder what number it'd have to get down to for me to take the over.
You take the over on 34, probably?
I don't know that I would. Because, again, health.
Okay, so assuming
health. That's what's so hard. I think that's the neighborhood, is that 3,400 range. Because that's kind of where I see it going.
So you think if he played, it's hard to say 17 games. Let's just say 16 because we're assuming health. Either he sits at the end of the season because they've locked up the division, obviously, in Week 18, Danny. Or, for whatever reason, he misses a game at some point. Concussion protocol or something else. Misses one game all year. You wouldn't take the over on 3,400 yards?
No, it's about 210 yards a game, which is what he did in the magical 2024 season.
He was at almost 3,600, right?
He was 35-68.
Yeah. Okay, so 2 years later,
brand new offense. You got smoke and mirrors last time. Tough schedule. The word is out. In terms of defense and how to stop him.
Everyone says he's an MVP candidate.
Yeah, not enough to support him. Not in a prolific way. This is all checked down near the line of scrimmage. Nothing explosive at this point. I think you get to those big yardage totals by hitting a couple of homers. I don't see where the homers are coming from, and that's still my big sticking point here. I think you can have a good offense. I think you'll run the ball. I think there'll be some cool creative stuff. Get a little yards after the catch, a few gimmick things here and there. But I think they're going to be less prolific. I think they're going to take their time. I don't think you're going to hurry up and run twice as many plays as everybody else. I think they're trying to win 20-17 instead of 30-29.
If he doesn't surpass the rookie year of yards playing 16 games, I'd be surprised. I'll stop short of saying disappointed because I got to see what the rest of it looks like. If it is a dependent statistic, to your point, because they're just busy kicking everybody's butts and they're winning a lot of 24-14 games or running the football well or whatever, and they're an 11-6 football team, then who cares? I mean, I could. There's not any care at all in the world for what his numbers are, but this is such a better scheme offensively, and it's so much more quarterback friendly that would be really, really disappointing for me. The scheme they're running is the Ben Johnson scheme. So that's the Bears offense from last year, and Caleb Williams, first year in a new scheme, who had shown way less than Jayden Daniels and had similar weaponry essentially going into the year. I think Colston Loveland ended up being a beast. I don't know if Washington has one of those, but going into the year, very similar. He threw for 3,942 yards last year as an example. So if we're saying 3,400 is like reasonable over-under, I don't know. That would be a little light for me. That'd be disappointing. But I also really trust the scheme and believe in this offense.
I wonder, because again, this kind of goes back to the conversation we've had ad nauseum about defense and helping the quarterback and those other kind of things. I'm just like taking every external factor out and looking at there is going to be a play where the quarterback drops back and throws, and we're evaluating that, right? As we kind of try to do when we talk about quarterback play. That's why we don't play the wins and losses game, et cetera. I wonder how different it's going to look, and I wonder how prolific this passing attack is going to be. I get the sense that they aren't as concerned about that. Maybe I'm crazy. So. You don't think so? I think this is a.
I think when I don't know what they think. I'd imagine it's more along the lines of what I'm saying than what you're saying, which is. It seems like when you talk about the passing attack, you act like the little Giants are going to go out there. And they go, Terry McLaurin's pretty damn good. Antonio Williams is pretty solid. Chika Okonkwo is a pretty good football player. We've got some weapons that we like. And oh, by the way, Jayden Daniels in and of himself, if he's accurate, if he's pinpoint, if he's making throws, if he's throwing guys open, if he's extending plays, doing all the stuff he did in 2024, all of a sudden Jalen Lane and Luke McCaffrey might even be more helpful than people think they are. So I think that's kind of their vision. Less like, how could anyone possibly ever get open? Which is kind of how you feel. Seems like.
No, it's not that extreme, but I go.
But more that than the other.
Yeah, I go, well, Look at Ben Johnson in Detroit. I'd like to see what a lot of offensive coordinators would do with the best slot receiver plus in the sport, Amon-Ra St. Brown. One of the best deep threats in the sport in Jamison Williams. A great tight end that's probably 6th or 7th, depends on your ranking, in Laporte in terms of pass catcher. The best offensive line in the sport, a veteran quarterback that knows what he's doing, a thumping running back, and...
He just did it with the Bears without all of that stuff. He left and did it in Chicago.
They had a nice offense. They weren't what Detroit was, and that's my point. It's just going to translate. I hope it does. Jayden Daniels doesn't take snaps from under center. We're just assuming all these great things.
Last year, Caleb Williams hadn't.
I know. We're assuming it, and a lot of guys have never hit a breaking ball. Sometimes they still can't. Some guys sometimes they learn how to do it. We're just assuming all these different steps. A, he's healthy, which I'm not assuming. B, he takes to this like a fish to water, and without kind of the same level of talent, you're supposed to make beautiful music. I think some of these things take time, and progress isn't linear.
3rd in rushing DVOA last year, the Bears, under Ben Johnson. 6th in average offense in yards. But, it will take time in building up the talent to be the number 1 offense in the sport, probably, like the Lions had been. But that was pretty quick. With the Bears players that were there, in a couple of additions, the scheme worked. You saw it with Kyle when he went to San Francisco or came here. It didn't really matter who he had, where he had. It's Jabbar Gaffney going for 1,000. It's Anthony Armstrong going for 950. The offense has worked. Now, my question is David Blau going to be able to do it? Because he's never done it before. That I do have questions about. But if he's good at it, like Kyle, like Ben, like some of these guys, then you're probably going to be okay. G&D on the Fan, if you got a thought on any of that, you can chime in 800-636-1067. We are getting you ready for Nats pregame before we get out of here. That's at 6:15 on Grant and Dan.